Tune in Tuesdays, don't be late. Nate and Mike got info great. Local auto news you need to hear. Ready to shift your knowledge gear. They're the pros from the dealer's floor, with tips and tricks and so much more. Be the buyer that's wise and smart. Rolling in style, you're off to a start. Mohawk Table Talk, come join the ride. The podcast that's got you auto supplied. From deals to trends and buying advice, we'll make car shopping extra nice. Got a question? Ask away. Nate and Mike got things to say. Guests drop in with insights to share. They'll guide you with their expert flair. Stories flow, insights unfold. Stay ahead, drive bold and cold. Mohawk secrets shared with care. Hit the road with confidence to spare. Mohawk Table Talk, come join the ride. The podcast that's got you auto supplied. From deals to trends and buying advice, we'll make car shopping extra nice. Got a question? Ask away. Nate and Mike got things to say. Guests drop in with insights to share. They'll guide you with their expert flair. Stories flow, insights unfold. Stay ahead, drive bold and cold. Mohawk secrets shared with care. Hit the road with confidence to spare. Mohawk Table Talk, come join the ride. The podcast that's got you auto supplied. From deals to trends and buying advice, we'll make car shopping extra nice. Mohawk Table Talk, come join the ride. The podcast that's got you auto supplied. From deals to trends and buying advice, we'll make car shopping extra nice.
Tune in Tuesdays, don't be late. Nate and Mike got info great. Local auto news you need to hear. Ready to shift your knowledge gear. They're the pros from the dealer's floor, with tips and tricks and so much more. Be the buyer that's wise and smart. Rolling in style, you're off to a start. Mohawk Table Talk, come join the ride. The podcast that's got you auto supplied. From deals to trends and buying advice, we'll make car shopping extra nice. Got a question? Ask away. Nate and Mike got things to say. Guests drop in with insights to share. They'll guide you with their expert flair. Stories flow, insights unfold. Stay ahead, drive bold and cold. Mohawk secrets shared with care. Hit the road with confidence to spare. Ooh, Mohawk Table Talk, come join the ride. The podcast that's got you auto supplied. From deals to trends and buying advice, we'll make car shopping extra nice.
Here we are. Late, but we made it.
Better late than never.
That's right. That's what I say. And welcome, everybody. This Mohawk Table Talk. If you're watching the replay, you really don't even care when we're starting because you're just watching whenever you want. But for our friends that do watch this live, we apologize for being late. But our friends on Spotify...
I think we're on like West Coast time. What are we, 3 hours late?
Yeah,
4
so,
hours?
I
don't know.
We're good for our friends on the Pacific
That's
Coast.
Right. That's right. It might have a little something to do with the topic that we have today. But like Nate said, welcome to Mohawk Table Talk. All of our repeat listeners and viewers, and for sure, last week, if you joined us, I was here with Justin. Nate wasn't in the studio last week, but Nate is back.
I'm back,
ready to go, full steam, and it's spring outside. So, what better time to be full steam than now? It feels like it's like 70 degrees out.
I mean, we're springing into action here.
That's
what I'm saying?
It might be an exaggeration, 70 degrees, but boy, it is warm.
It feels like 70. That's the thing is you live in New York, upstate New York. You get that cold, you start to embrace the cold for a little bit, then you're like, 20 degrees, not that bad. I'm going to wear a lighter shirt. And then it becomes 50 degrees with the sun outside because you're used to 40 degrees with a wind chill and rain. And you're like, wow, this feels like summer.
What do they call it? They call it acclimation, right?
Acclimation.
And that's not even that big of a difference between, say, 30 degrees and 60 degrees. But,
right.
I'm sure everybody, either if you live down south or spend some time south or know somebody that does or has family, when you move to, quintessentially, you move to Florida, right? And it's 60 to 80 degrees or 90 every day. And then it gets to 50. You're like, oh, boy, it's freezing out.
I'm wearing my parka jacket.
That's right. And you quickly forget that in New York, if it's 50, you're out there with shorts. And, I don't know if anybody in the studio is that guy, but there's always that one guy, I like to say, is wearing the shorts and it's 34 degrees. It just was above freezing.
Just above
and
freezing.
Gotta have the shorts on because, it's a sign of things to come. So the good news is I feel like we're there.
Yep.
I feel like we're there. It's always a little dangerous to say when we're still in March, but I feel like we're there.
Yep.
The snow's gone.
Snow is gone. The grass is not green, but the grass is getting green.
That's right. That's right. And we're gonna kind of turbocharge, if that's the right word. We're gonna accelerate. We're gonna electrify today's episode. That's right. We got one thing that's hot on everybody's mind. I know it's on ours. We consistently talk about battery electric vehicles, EVs, what that means to the car business, what that means to the service business, and what that means to you if maybe you're already an owner, or if not, there are a lot of people that are considering it.
There are a lot of
reasons.
people, and Honda is becoming known for its electric vehicles, selling, I think one of my notes here, making one of the top selling EVs in the U.S. last year.
That's right. That's right. If I heard correctly, and I don't have my source up, but I believe it was number 4.
Number 4.
Now, that's really good. No matter what, number 4 is really good. Obviously, Tesla is always leading the charge on that. However, so far Honda only has the one EV.
Right.
So if you want to buy Honda, you want to buy an EV, you're buying a Prologue.
Yeah.
As opposed to there are a lot of manufacturers that have multiple.
Yep.
So it's probably tougher for them to have one leading model because they have a lot to choose from. So,
right.
But we're super proud of the Prologue, and certainly in our commercial state of mind, we'd love to have you stop by and check it out. Even if you're not ready to buy, it certainly is a good place to start. The EV is kind of like a culture, I like to say, right? We have people even say that to us, people that have purchased them. They get the waves. This is the Jeep wave. I don't know if there's a Prologue wave, but people recognize
soon.
Fellow
maybe
EVs.
Maybe it'll be a P outside.
I don't know what it'll be. Plug in or
plug.
That's right.
There it is, right there.
That's right. If you
this way.
If you caught our
left hand, there it is.
It kind of looks like that. If you caught our Monday morning live, I was live with John Korber, who's one of our leading sales consultants and local EV expert. And we were outside the Honda building at the chargers, at the level 2 and at the supercharger. And we kind of gave the folks a run through on how to charge. So let's get started on today's topic.
Let's do
EVs. What's going on in the news with these things?
Well, there's a lot of things that are going on in the news, some that we may not touch on today. However, New York's investing a lot in, and we have talked about this, right? We've talked about the ACC2 or the Advanced Clean Cars Act 2 that was signed a few years ago, and that really isn't, and it's still on the table. It hasn't been taken off yet, so we're continuing to talk about this law that wants another 300% year over year increase in EVs before we can't sell, go back into a few past episodes to know what we're talking about when it comes to advanced cars. Essentially, they want to sell more EVs, but they're doing it to the point where it's not feasible. It doesn't make any sense. And we're all about it. But it needs to be done right. And it's getting there. It's just not there yet. And even with the governor announcing a $60 million investment to accelerate the infrastructure, even when that gets signed, you still have to, it's not like, okay, we signed the check.
Here you go.
Boom.
Right.
No,
Yeah,
we have to go to the substations, then we have to run the lines, and we have to make sure that each of them can handle the charging. And right now, we're just not there.
Yeah. So the good news is that's a great start with the budgetary, advances that we've made, that the governor signed, and what we're talking about in terms of the restrictive nature of the rule, where EVs being at 30 or 35% seems like a dream at this point. Meaning it's almost, it's tough to realize that that's the case. We recognize that the infrastructure, although we're making progress, although states making progress, is still not quite even able to accommodate the 8 or 9% of EVs that are being sold now. So it's certainly not that Mohawk or Nate or I have any opposition to having EVs, because we think it's a great thing.
Yeah.
Right. Reducing carbon, the footprint is super important. We want to get there, but we need to get there with realistic goals as opposed to mandates that say in another 18 months or 24 months, you have to do this.
Every 1 out of 3 vehicles has to be a zero emission vehicle.
Yeah, because that'll end up being restrictive, and it won't necessarily be as restrictive on the dealer, but it's on the consumer, right?
Right.
Because if a certain number haven't been sold, then those would be the only vehicles that are available for sale. Right. And you may not be the person that's ready to do that at this point. It may not be for you, and we understand that. But we're trying to push as much as we can for the state to understand that also. Right. That there's almost like it's the right way and the wrong way to do it, and we want to push for the right way.
Yes, we want to make sure it's the correct way that gets, because we want our customers to be able to choose what they want to buy.
Yeah.
Right. So if you want to buy an EV, we're here for you. If you want to buy an ICE or internal combustion engine vehicle, you can. And that's really what we're aiming for, not to have these mandates that will subtract from your ability to choose which vehicle you're going to buy. So that's really all that the Advanced Car Clean. If you want to help out in this manner, make sure you reach out to your senator to let them know what's going on and that you want this to be fixed.
Yep. And if you have any questions or like to chat about it further, you obviously can hit us up with a contact info in the comments if you're watching the replay, or if you want to jump in on the live. We'll do our best to answer some questions. We certainly don't necessarily give legal advice, but we can certainly let you know what our point of view is in terms of how that would affect the dealership, whether it's Mohawk Auto Group, or New York State dealers, or you as a customer. But the good thing is, and we're super pro EV. Pro EV. I know I am. There are a lot of
I love EVs.
And there's a lot of cool stuff to them.
Of course.
And a lot of folks, most people, if you're even considering it or even wanted to be involved in that conversation, have done some research on what are the positives and possible negatives of owning an EV. And I made a little list there just so we could make sure that we got everything out to
get everything in there,
folks. That's right. And I may have had help with AI. Also agrees with the idea that there are some positives and negatives.
Be a little help here for us.
Yeah. So let me just run these off, and we'll see what points we can chat about. So some of the positives, some of the good reasons, which are the things that we talk about consistently, especially as it relates to a Honda Prologue, or obviously General Motors or Chevy EVs. Lower running costs, right? Low and running meaning there's no fuel, right? There's no fuel. So you don't have to go to the pump and put your card in it seems like every other day, depending on how much you drive. So lower running costs for sure. Of course, maintenance is less expensive. So that contributes to cost of ownership. No emissions, right? There's zero coming out of it. There's no tailpipe. Zero coming out of the tailpipe. Yep. That's obviously a real positive thing. I mentioned reduced maintenance. Obviously, there's still a lot of mechanical parts to an EV or an ICE vehicle. However, the internal combustion part of the engine, which is the expensive part, don't have to worry about that, the maintenance of it or anything like that. And like Nate just mentioned, one of the big attractions are, if you've never driven an EV, when you drive one and you hit that
You get that
throttle,
go.
that's
You
an
know,
understatement.
Another part about electric vehicles that I really love is that you can literally design them however you want, because the aerodynamics, it doesn't matter at this point in time, right?
That's true.
I mean, think about the older vehicles that we used to make, the Bel Airs, all of those. They weren't really they thought about aerodynamics, and they didn't have the science for all of them, but they were cool looking cars. They were very eccentric. You could do pretty much anything. There wasn't crazy amount of restrictions on and then once we found out, hey, we should probably not drive 4 miles a gallon, and we should probably fix that.
Right.
We started to design more aerodynamic vehicles, but now we don't really have those restrictions at the moment in terms of it needs to get a certain amount of miles per gallon, miles per gallon, or rate has to have a specific range, right?
Yep.
So you can bring back that Volkswagen Beetle bus.
What about the Honda Element?
Bring back
That was like a toaster.
bring back the Honda Element. Bring back all of the cool classic cars. I would love to see, like, some of these classic cars come back, not revamped or changed, just the same body, but it's electric. I'd love to see a Bel Air electric.
Wow. Did you just touch on something?
That's for you, Chevrolet.
That. Yeah, imagine that. Somebody
Chevrolet, bring back the Bel Air.
They people that restore or kind of restore older vehicles, and they put new upgraded motors in them. What if they upgraded it to being an EV? Boy, I'd love to follow that. I'm sure somebody has to have done that so far, right? Somewhere.
Has a bunch of classic cars that he's made EVs.
Robert Downey Jr. has made a bunch of classic cars.
We got some intel. We'll have to
Robert Downey Jr., I know you're listening to this awesome podcast.
Every week, probably.
Every week. We know you love us so much. We'd love to see whatever classic cars you have.
Wow, that's pretty.
Bring them to the dealership.
Yeah, bring them on to Scotia, New York. We'll check them out. We'll have to figure out which ones he did, because that's some technology. That performance aspect though of an EV. And when we're talking about performance, we're talking about that acceleration or torque. It's really, really almost instant. Unlike an ICE vehicle that muscle car or otherwise, it still takes a while for that to get going. That inertia takes a little bit. So
let's see.
What do you got there? You have his.
We got the vehicles. He has a 1972 Volkswagen bus.
EV.
Yep.
Converted EV.
1965 Corvette. Look at that.
Wow, look at that.
Bus, Corvette.
Those things used to just, start, and they used to rumble with the
Buick
blowing
Rivera.
fuel.
Mercedes-Benz 280 SE 1969. Ooh, a Chevrolet El Camino.
Okay.
And then a K10 pickup. That's what I'm talking about. Look at that El Camino.
I'm not sure. Look at that thing.
That's wild.
I'm not sure the last time we've seen an El Camino at Mohawk Chevrolet. But boy, that's pretty neat.
It's blurry. Sorry, podcast. I tried. Look it up. We'll throw the link in the comments.
That's awesome. And a couple other things that are some real big positives. Obviously, there's a lot of energy around all of the things that you get when you go to an EV. That's right. Energy conservation. Obviously, it's much more an efficient way of dispersing energy to get you from one place to another in an efficient manner. So energy conservation. And then a little bit of a touchy subject where we're not sure where this is going. But lastly, there could be a lot of ifs, certain government incentives, monetary incentives, whether that's rebates, and there also could be on a state level, which in New York there are. So we'll leave that for another day. But those are certainly could be positives, especially if there are some. So, that's a lot. I mean, those are mainly the reasons why people check them out. And the only thing that's not on my list, because AI doesn't say, there's a cool factor. I mean, these cars are amazing. And they're cool.
They don't need a radiator in the front, That's what I'm saying. You can literally, that was the thing, is like the drag along with, you don't need a front grill. You can literally make it look whatever you want.
There's something else another customer just this morning pointed out to us, and he was talking about this at his place of employment. He gets preferred parking.
See, that's another thing too. A lot of times, because you don't want to run your charger all the way out in the middle of the parking lot. you want it closer to the building,
Yeah.
so it costs you less money too.
That's right. So these businesses, including us, right, that have these chargers, and we showed them on the live yesterday, but they're close to the building. So when you have your EV and you're charging, you automatically cut your walk. I don't know if that's good or bad, but
I mean,
you can get your steps some other time. But either way,
there's tons of other ways to get your steps.
That's right. You can get to your car faster than your ICE counterpart who had to park out in the middle
And
of the parking lot.
typically, as of right now, you will get a parking spot
That's right.
because there's not a lot out there, and those spots are typically open.
That's right. That's right. So as businesses continue to expand, you'll notice that most of the new businesses I've seen in terms of being, that are public, that have public access and so forth, the EV chargers, there used to be 1 or 2 at a business.
Yep.
Now there's 12, 15, 20. So we're super grateful that businesses have a way to, get subsidized for things like that. And we don't want to spend a ton of time, but in terms of things that maybe people worry about with EVs, we just want to touch on them because they're a real thing.
It's going to be range anxiety.
That's right. It's number one.
That's number one.
Is range anxiety.
What happens if my car dies?
Yeah. And that's a lot of ifs, right? That's more like up here than it is probably in the car.
Oh, of course.
It's all here.
Well, just think about the Prologue. The Prologue is 308 miles or something like that. What is it?
Yeah, 300 at a full charge.
At full charge.
Yeah. And that which probably the range anxiety is really it. And everything else, if there's anything else on the list, it's probably associated with that, like charging infrastructure. Like, will there be a charger there? I'm driving to this place, but will there be a charger there? That's part of range anxiety.
Well, I think the biggest con is it's not as convenient if you have to go long distance. That's pretty much it.
Could be.
Like, that's where the range anxiety comes from. That's where all this, because let's be honest. The average person is only driving 40 miles a day, if that, right?
Right.
To and from work, to the grocery store, blah, blah, blah. That's 40 miles, right? You charge it when you get home. Just like you plug your phone in.
Yeah.
No one's like, oh no, my phone's, well, a lot of people are like, my phone's going to die. But you know that you have to charge it. You just choose not to.
Right.
There is that. So we may have to just become more responsible individuals. There might be that
That's
issue.
right. That's right. It takes a little, it'll take getting used to, so to speak. So charging, of course, is not an instantaneous,
It's not instant satisfaction.
Exactly.
Pulling up to the gas station, 30 seconds, boom, you're done.
Exactly. But once you establish, just like any habit that you have, right? Once you establish when it's easiest for you to charge, whether it's overnight or whatever, once you've done that, you probably don't. Yeah, you don't think about it again. So, not that range anxiety isn't a real thing, but that most, if there's any things that people worry about with being a new EV owner or maybe an existing EV owner, it's really that anxiety around range, and it's really not for, like Nate mentioned. Most of us, me included, I don't drive that much every single day, so I can make a number of round trips to and from work, to and from my local events, and probably not even charge maybe more than once a week or a couple times a week. That's it. So, I you don't want to minimize it. It's a real thing. But as we move forward and as we see the technology move forward with longer ranges available, it's going to be pretty cool. I'd have to say, as we're just kind of banging through this, I did see one other pretty cool, and I don't know if we can. This might be a bet you didn't know.
Ooh,
but I just saw this. When is it? What's the date on this? March 18th. That's today. March 18th.
Today. March 18th is today.
Right. AP News. I see an article here that let me just read a couple things from it because this is relevant to that range anxiety. China's energy and auto giant BYD, the letters BYD.
BYD.
Yep.
Very prominent electric company throughout the globe, except for America.
Absolutely. And they're working on this technology, and they've announced an ultra fast EV charging system. Ultra fast, not just fast. That's nearly as quick as a fill up at the pumps. China's largest EV maker said Monday that its flash chargers can provide a full charge for its latest EVs within 5 to 8 minutes.
What?
5 to 8 minutes. So we have superchargers. We have one here. That's around.
Crazy.
That's like a super duper charger.
Super duper charging.
Yeah. 5 to 8 minutes.
If we get those, that's gonna that will revolutionize if someone's gonna buy it or not. I swear.
Yeah, that based on this,
Because now what you're gonna do is on these long trips, everyone has to stop to pee. That's gonna take you 5 minutes, and you're good.
That's right, at least. And you gotta get that snack, and you have to get the coffee and the drinks and all that kind of thing. So and this might be that's the first time I've heard of anything that was less than 10 minutes. I mean, that's crazy. That's a crazy short period of time.
Even 10 minutes though, I will take a 10-minute charge.
Yeah. So
I'll take that.
Me too.
My phone will take that too. Can we make one of those for our phone, please?
Yeah, exactly. That's the opposite of what we were just talking about. We're saying, folks, geez, I have to change my lifestyle because it takes all this time to charge. Well, maybe this almost instant charger isn't for everybody, and it may not be available quite yet, but you can see where the technology is going. Right?
The technology is almost there. So like, it's definitely within 2 to 3 years, it's going to be there.
Yeah. And it's going to be,
if not even faster in 2 to 3 years.
And the availability is going to be ample. Like, it's going to be around everywhere, and not just an article that we're reading about, an area in Asia. It's, it'll be in the U.S. Hopefully, should be part of our infrastructure, right? Hopefully, state back too. So when you're making those trips, and most people associate the long trips with the interstate.
We're going to have flying cars, and we won't have to worry about it.
We'll just skip right over this.
Yeah, we'll skip right over. It'll be probably electric. At this point, it might just be magnetic. Actually, you just move the magnets, and there's going to be metal in the road, and you just push you forward.
Keep tuning into Mohawk Table Talk, and Nate and I will be in a full size drone about the size of this room, and we'll fly.
I have seen those. There is actually a full size drone for one person that flies. Just hovers right across the ground.
Yeah, it's probably manufactured.
Super loud too, though.
Oh yeah, like was it John Lucas edition? Looked like something out of Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yep. But so I wanted to make sure we touched on that really quickly, because we were talking about some of the pros and cons of EVs.
Yep.
It's a constant topic. We're going to continue to talk about it. We're super proud, especially at the Honda store, of the amount of Prologues that have been sold, and they've been accepted nationwide. It's a daily thing. We sell them every day, and we encourage you, if you're still kind of just maybe even not even dipping your toe in, but thinking about dipping your toe in, feel free to visit us. Contact any of our sales or EV professionals at the dealerships, and that's both Mohawk Honda and Mohawk Chevrolet. We're happy to give you the rundown, because being more educated makes it easier for everybody.
That's right. Being an educated buyer makes you the best buyer, and we believe that here at Mohawk Auto Group and Mohawk Honda, and that's why we have this podcast. This is Mohawk Table Talk. We come to you live every Tuesday to give you tips and tricks and the latest news in our local area or in the national news, and we boil it down for what that means to you as a local 518er.
And beyond, but beyond. I guess we're 518.
I mean, we're 518. Yeah. I guess New York, we're not talking about anything in Minnesota or
that's
Maine.
Even though some is related to folks that live in Minnesota,
New Jersey.
We love them, or Jersey, but
it could be. I mean, it could. Obviously, some of the stuff is generic, but we are looking at stuff from New York.
Absolutely. Well, we try to keep it local. We made it, even though it was a few hours late. We got we
this is
talked
for our
about
friends on the Pacific.
That's right. That's right. We have to.
It's for
we have
Robert
to
Downey
Jr.
living in L.A.
We were able to talk a little bit about EVs and what the positives and maybe some of the some of the drawbacks are to some folks, but we're going to continue to talk about it. And I look forward to the technology advancements where that small list of negatives ends up becoming smaller and smaller, and then it's going to go away altogether.
Altogether, it'll be gone. Once we have that 5-minute charger, no one's going to say anything. So
yeah, exactly.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next Tuesday at Mohawk Table Talk.